Call to order the March 11, 2014 special council meeting. This is a budget workshop. If everyone could please bow their heads briefly for a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided indicating the time and place the same in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975. Advertising notice in the Star Gazette, the Express Times, for posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building.
Here.
Councilman Del Ferro.
Here.
Councilman Tate.
Here.
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 Folks, this is the first budget workshop that we've done, but we felt that it was a good idea in light of the fact that we have several new council members, just new in the last year or so, everybody but me. So to give everyone an opportunity to kind of really sink their teeth into what the budget looks like and how it works, and answer questions without the pressure of other business, we're going to do a budget workshop. Now, this also being a special meeting, we're going to follow a little bit different schedule. We'll take public comment on the agenda items, but there's only one, so we're not going to get into too much detail until we get into the actual budget itself. But the way we're going to kind of spell this out tonight is from now until about 7:10, 7:15. We're going to have Dave and John kind of give us a budget overview from roughly 7:15 to 7:30 as time requires. We'll hear from any of the various department heads or other folks that are here with specific budget requests. From roughly 7:30 to 8 o'clock, can open the floor to council specific questions of Dave or anybody else amongst each other or for our respective debate. And then from roughly 8 o'clock to 8:15, we'll take any specific public comment or questions based on the presentation that we've done up to that point. That's my intention, to go into executive session for a couple of personnel items and things that we carried over from last meeting. And we go out. I don't expect that there'll be any other business. We're not going to take any votes tonight. So we'll be adjourning around, then we're good around 8:30. Okay. So that said, I'd like to open the floor up to Dave and John to kind of give us an overview of where we stand for our fiscal year 2014 budget.
Good evening, everyone. What you have before you is a packet of what your budget looks like at this point. Currently, you are under both what's called the tax expenditure cap and the tax levy cap. You are right at the tax levy cap, though. There's really no wiggle room left there. As it stands on this document, you will see a monthly increase of approximately $9.49 on a house assessed, an average a house assessed at $230,000. For the past several years, you kept your local tax rate really low in comparison to your neighboring communities. The state average for the local taxpayer is approximately $2,500. This was based on the 2012 survey that was done by the state. The county average with a police force in Warren County is approximately $1,800 for the local taxpayer per year. Your 2014 budget as it stands is approximately $1,100. So you are coming in $700 under that benchmark from 2012. If there is any items to reduce the amount of local taxpayer share, it has to be done through expenditure cuts. You are very stretched on your revenue, and you are stretched as far as what you can use for fund balance. So if you are to reduce that number, it should be done, it must be done through budget cuts. Look at that. I finished up 7 minutes ahead of
Let's
schedule.
back up. Let's go through some of the, John, go through some of the specific numbers. Let's talk about the levy. Let's talk about what we need to raise by taxes, what we have coming in by virtue of other revenue. And rather than just give us, a broad brush overview, let's talk about some of the more specifics.
Just to go back, the increase is approximately 4.9 cents. So you're going from a local rate of 47 cents to 43 cents to 47.9 cents, which is a 0.049 cent increase. And to reduce that by 1 point, you have to reduce $86,000 from the expenditures. So that's what you're looking at.
So 1 point is 86.
That one cent? Or-
Yeah, 1 cent effects. Let's talk specifically about the 2014 increases, John. My understanding is it's $326,000 in increases in capital improvements, $325,000 in increases in daily operations. That sounds correct?
Correct.
Can you break those down into a little greater detail for us, too? If you're not able to, I can.
Yes, you have approximately $360,000 in capital improvement increases. The capital improvement fund for DPW and EMS is approximately $250,000.
That reflects what? Do you understand? Oh, Betty can chime in.
$100 is for the EMS. The other way around, 100 for the 100 for the Mason, and 150 for the EMS.
We had a 2.8% increase, looks like, in our respective insurances, correct? $48,000 and $28,460 respectively.
Yeah, I verified that with Randy. That's just the statewide increase.
The increase in insurance, or excuse me, not insurance, in engineering over last year, it's my understanding that's related to the engineering for the 3rd Street.
You also have an item on here of $40,000. These are for bills that had come in that we did not have any indication that they were there for prior year.
Yep.
Not 13, but even going back to 12, right?
My understanding is we cut out of the 2014 budget 3 things of substance. First, $58,000 for salary raises, correct? $248,000 for the sidewalk project we put on hold, and pay out of some retirement time, $55,000, correct?
Yeah.
Last year, going back to 2013, we had actually cut out $200,000 out of the budget. Salary raises again to the tune of $100,000, $30,000 in health premiums, 2 police cars, which we carried over to this year, which I like to talk about. Interlocal court, parks and playgrounds, and $50,000 in capital. There's no inherent benefit to us of moving the 2 police cars to SUVs and taking them out of the cap.
That's correct. If you went with a specialized police vehicle, you could move that outside of the cap, but you'd still have to come up with a way to fund it.
This would be a great strategy if you had money in capital. You take the money out of capital, but unfortunately, you don't have any money in capital. Yeah, because you can cut
Right.
so much. You've been extremely aggressive over the last, at least a decade that I'm aware of. Governing bodies have been extraordinarily aggressive in keeping the local tax rate as small as possible. Unfortunately, as an end result, you have no money.
And I was doing some research earlier. We were looking for package. I'm not to get off
M&M,
these. Let's
yeah, we can
finish.
get
You
to
go
that.
through your thing. We can go back to that. But so in case any fire these guys are looking up there, then get out there. Anything else you can give us by way of highlights in terms of, so what are we raising specifically by tax levy?
Dollar-wise,
No, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
dollar-wise.
for the local taxpayer, it's $1,100.
No.
Our
How
tax
much is our
levy.
total to be raised by levy versus how much we get?
Okay. Your total that you're raising by levy,
$4 million?
3.1 million.
yeah, I'm sorry, that's,
You have a budget with reserve local taxes, approximately $7 million. And you're, I'm sorry, yeah, local
700,000.
7 million.
7 million?
And the 3.1, I misspoke. The 3.1 million is revenues other than local taxes. Right. 4.1 million is by local taxes.
Okay. So we're right under the cap by like $300, right?
You are right at
Right.
the maximum tax levy cap.
Mhm.
This year is a state examination year. So they'll be nitpicking everything that they can possibly find.
Anything else you guys want to add before we start asking questions? Guys, anything you want to, ambulance, fire, W?
Would you like to
You need
explain
the
a
dump
mason
truck.
dump?
What are we doing with the one we have? Yeah. What are you gonna keep using it? Nothing's going out of service. This one had the transmission problems during the last snowstorm.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the general public doesn't realize how many problems you have, especially during snow, and how you're constantly, yeah.
Chief, that's the 100 grand is the truck that you were referring to last time. The van, please.
No, that's the
Oh, that's
ambulance.
EMS.
He hasn't mentioned what he wants yet.
Not yet. You're gonna have to kind of wait and see how the year goes, to be very candid. Sorry.
No, it only goes 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, it only goes 30 miles per hour.
Not getting to a
Ours doesn't
fire fast.
start when we really need it, so really would like to replace that this year.
And the problem is when we start going through item by item, we cut a lot over the last 10 years. And there's just not a lot of wiggle room left. That doesn't mean there won't be. There isn't presently.
I believe in the paperwork I gave you last week, there was an increase in my operating budget for the year. I've been operating for the last, my tenure for the 3 years that I've been in so far at well below what we should be at.
Mhm.
Every year I cut something out that I probably shouldn't cut out. And if we're going to get burned one day with OSHA coming in. I budgeted it.
Is there any wiggle room in the price of the Mason dump truck and the ambulance? Is that overestimated?
We're not
Mhm.
looking for a new ambulance that was past cheap.
Oh, okay.
We have 3 operating ambulances right
Mhm.
now. They, as long as we're up on a preventive maintenance for it, which is 14 budget. As long as preventive maintenance is done okay on them, there's an operation. We're struggling looking to replace AEDs, general defibrillators, stretchers
Okay.
for safety concerns.
Where do you think you're gonna be
Yeah.
budget-wise? All problem.
The ambulance.
Oh, well, that's good.
Why don't we leave it?
I'm going to say we're going to be around the 30
Around
to
30.
40 grand area.
I would leave it where it is.
Money for the
Leave it where it is.
But that's,
taxi truck.
and that's not including preventive maintenance throughout
Okay.
the year. That's
All right.
capital expenditures that we have in mind.
Well, the ambulance was
For auditing
150.
purposes, to pull 50 out of there and put it into the fire truck now.
Well, here's the thing. If you move it from capital to capital, you're fine. If you want to move it from capital to something other than capital, you can't do it because of the tax levy cap. So if you want to stay with I think there's 250,000 capital improvement fund,
Leave it.
just leave it
That's not how we spend it.
and allocate it differently.
I have to let you know that the inspections on our big trucks, I'm not saying it now, but you gotta understand this. They're telling me I can't pull anything with them. back. All right, that's how bad they are. I've been asked by Updikes and all that, all right, which is sales and service, takes care of certain things, to not pull any trailers with it. So now I'm down, we're down to one truck that we can do that. Well, they're saying the whole back's going to pull off, and then it'll drop the whole bed on the ground also. All right, so it's just been there. They've been there for so long that, you know what I mean, everything's just starting to do its time. So I guess what I'm saying to you is somewhere we've got to start getting a part of that budget put in there to be able to replace that things. Yeah, you're moving forward in there. Yeah. So, I mean, for some reason we have a little extra, we can roll that and keep that, you know what I mean, into the following year.
Right. Yeah, because last year, we saved like $40,000, like over the course of the year, here and there. Thanks to how, the frugality of everyone here.
Are we the only ones, Lopat, that has a cascade in the South Warren region?
Yeah, besides Phillipsburg Emergency Squad, their rescue truck, they have a cascade system on it. So they take care of their own people first, and then they call us in when their system's depleted, vice versa. We use our truck first, calls in town, and then Phillipsburg comes and assists us when our system's depleted. Other than us, Greenwich, Coacon, Alpha, they don't have a cascade system. Harmony does not have a cascade system. The next closest would be Franklin, Washington, and then Mansfield Township.
Just considering if we can maybe reach out to these towns at the shared services, maybe they can help chip in. That would work. I don't know. Because, I know they do call us mutual aid when they need it in the need of a cascade truck. Just as part of the shared services, if they can chip in. Hey, some towns could chip in 10,000 apiece, and then I think it'd be fair to all of us. Just a suggestion, something to consider.
Yeah.
They have cascade systems at their firehouse.
Oh.
The problem is, transport them back to, you gotta transport bottles back to the station, get filled, to bring back, when you really need them at the scene to perform your activities. So that's the whole purpose of a mobile cascade system.
There is an inherent problem with multiple towns contributing towards equipment because it's an ownership issue. You can't bond for something that you don't own. And then it becomes a real issue. Then who actually owns the vehicle or the equipment? So it becomes, while on the surface it sounds like a wonderful idea. Let's have 3 towns chip together and buy something. But in order to do that from a capital item, the 3 towns, the contributing municipalities, have to all own a piece of it. It's a little crazy. They can donate. They can certainly donate,
Right.
but they can't, with the levy cap the way it is, the only kind of wiggle room you have is in capital items, debt service items. And you can't put capital items in there for stuff that you don't own. Years ago, it didn't matter.
Paul, is that what would happen?
The cascade truck only goes to calls where we need to fill our air bottles up. So not every call requires that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to go. Sorry.
I'd be reluctant to ask another town to chip in. They have specialized equipment that we don't have, tankers for that
Oh,
case.
so yeah.
We use their tankers.
Right. Mhm.
They start filling us.
So
Yeah, I know you guys have all
Get
worked well
messy.
together.
Any questions, council, for the fire EMS or DPW?
The only question I have now is that we had said we had 150 for ambulance, which we don't need now, and now he's saying he needs about maybe like 50.
What they said was suggested is we leave the whole 250 in capital and we can draw on it as we need.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't need all of it. Or,
Right.
We only need
Okay.
2/3 of it, and the balance you guys can hopefully carry over into next year and start building up accounts to pick up some of these other expenses.
And going back to the whole the police cars being in the cap or out of the cap, does it make a difference since we're so close? We only have like a leeway of $300 if we pull them out of the cap.
Yeah,
why you're complaining, whether it's $1 or $1,000.
right. And if you were, you could certainly reclassify expenses and buy a specialized vehicle, but you're still going to end up at the same place
Oh, right.
with your local tax. And as far as banking versus not, it's not really going to help you.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? Guys, thanks. You're welcome to hang around. If not, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. All right, so let's turn it over to council for questions of Dave or John or Betty for that matter, or anybody. You know, I guess we're all fair game. Questions of one another.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into a special order. I guess we can ask as they all occur to us. We were talking, or I was mentioning earlier, it seems to me, Dave, John, that the problem that we have is inherently a revenue problem. I'm looking at Hackettstown for, well, I don't know how many of council knows, and I think I asked Beth, did you give a copy of that to everybody? Yeah, the Warren County. Yeah, Lopatcong Township experienced the highest growth in the county in the last 10 years, between 2000 and 2000 and, well, between, 2000 and 2010, but they actually take their population rates up to 2012. Lopatcong went from 6th in the county to 3rd. Our population increased from 5,765 by 39.1% to 8,068. Previously, we had been behind Washington Township, Washington Borough, Mansfield, Hackettstown, and Phillipsburg. Phillipsburg actually experienced a decrease in its population. Our population increased by 39.1% to 8,068 individuals, residents as of 2012, and that's a 2012 estimate. Meaning that, you know, we've had exponential growth over the last roughly 13 years, and during that period of time, worked hard to try to keep our budget from having to suffer the same type of an increase, a 40% increase, for instance, when we couldn't do it and remain cap compliant anyway. But understand that, you know, an increase of 40%, roughly 3,000 people, 2,300 people in population, is a difficult strain on a town's budget when we can only increase our budget by 2% a year and still remain cap compliant. You know, we've done that. But when you look at other towns, we spent some time today looking at Hackettstown, for instance. Hackettstown is 3.5 square miles versus Lopatcong 7 square miles. They have 9,700 people to our 8,100 people. They have a DPW with 7 members and an 8th supervisor. They actually have an entire rec department too, of a supervisor and 3 members, which our DPW does with its 3. They have 18 full-time police officers to our roughly 13 to cover almost the same population in half of the area. So, you know, we're not without our challenges. They also have Mars, which is a multi-billion-dollar rateable for them. It contributes almost 6% of their tax levy, $350,000 a year from a single taxpayer within their township. We don't have any such taxpayer to take the burden off of our residential taxpayers. So, I mean, that's just one illustration against which you can compare Lopatcong's financial position, but I think it's one worth looking at because they're so similar to us in terms of size, geographical makeup, and services provided. So,
you go over the salaries too. If you look at they have a township administrator clerk, and they also have a rec director, and now just found out they have 3 rec employees. So I'm not sure of their salaries, but if you take the rec director and the clerk and administrator, those 2 salaries together come to $132. And if you take, I know like the biggest grumbling out there has been Beth's salary, but if you look at the salary she gets paid for clerk and for administrator, she's coming in at like $138. It's only like a $5,000 difference, and that's not including the 3 people that I just found out about today that work for recreation. I mean, that's Beth, and she does it for free. And again, you're talking population's almost the same, and we have twice as much land, which you do with 4 people compared to them. Again, maybe if we had Mars, we could have employees, but I think if you look over time too, I mean, the amount of things that everybody here does for free, I think we totaled, it came to like $500,000 worth of salary that we're not paying because people have decided to take it on for no cost. And over the years, we've cut out almost every single part-time position except for, I think the only one we have left is the person who helps the tax assessor. That's the only person who has a part-timer left. And I think it's definitely a testament to everybody who works here that you've managed to do this with a lot fewer people. And we're coming up on Hackettstown, and if things continue to grow, like, you feel the grumblings are, we could surpass them. Definitely get you a copy. For instance, Beth does here, I'll read some of them off. Does administrators of part-time, which saves us about $50,000. Registrar of vital statistics saves us $2,500. Qualified purchasing agent, $5,000. Recreation program, $25,000. But just to note that in Hackettstown, the director makes $33,000. I'm not sure about the other three. What else do we have?
You want to copy that?
Yeah.
Do I want to copy that? Sure.
Oh, a housing liaison, $7,000. On-call 24/7, pump station emergencies, $80 an hour. Custodian of records, $1,500. I mean, there's still even more. Like, it just keeps going on and on. And that's just Beth. Then we have the same thing with Betty and with Phyllis and with Rachel. So, yeah, if you want to give everybody a copy of that. Every department. And the savings is $500,000. Like I said, only the tax assessor's office still has a part-timer helping.
So this represents,
There's not an amount on the left-hand side, and there's an amount on the right-hand side. That's what they're doing. Just to compare again, I mean, M&M Mars, according to the mayor of Hackettstown, it brings in $350,000 in taxes. Maybe if they're looking to set up an auxiliary factory. Yes. Yeah, it's almost 6% of their tax base. And we're, look at what the budget going over all the years. And like you said, we increased by 39%, and our budget has not increased by 39%.
I have some specific questions. Going through the various budget worksheet. So we have a code book update, budgeted $500 last year, spent on about $5,000 this year. So we're doing anything special.
I codify all the ordinances once a year, and in years when we've been a little bit close with money, I'll wait till the next year, and then send it in, plus a little bit.
Engineering, O&E under engineering went to $32,075. Now, like I said earlier, it's my understanding that that's related to Third Street. Buildings and grounds O&E went up, but not significantly. Police salaries went up again, that's $100,000, $50,000, $30,000. The O&E went up. O&E went from 88 to 125. That's that. Fire inspector dropped. Fire,
Okay.
which one?
Where is it?
2 and 4.
Right.
One.
Where did he
Page
get-
one.
Yeah, I know, but where did he?
I'm looking at this.
Two.
This.
What does the fire inspector do? Is he the one that,
Fire inspector, that's Kevin.
he goes to the houses to check that they have the smoke alarms?
Smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, commercial inspections, he keeps up on those.
Some towns don't do that. Some towns.
Working my way down to Senior Citizen Center, that's back in.
That's back in, right?
Parks and playgrounds, salaries and wages, that jumped from 60 to 80. That's the one that we-
Right, we didn't use, the
Right.
weather last year was not conducive to swimming, so we closed the pool a lot.
This is
Okay.
good weather.
So it's like the year before's salary,
You don't have that on here.
Right.
So if you went back to 12, for instance, with 80 and 12.
right,
But our receipts will be up too.
correct,
Good weather.
right, right.
Miscellaneous other. Now, I'm assuming that's
That's everything that goes on in the park.
we call it the whole night.
No, not recalled, that's a separate trust, that's a dedication by rider. So we're talking about Community Day, Easter egg hunt, dances, supplies for the pools,
I know we don't
maintenance of the grounds at the park.
cut out. Community Day.
Yeah, my budget's zero.
You're talking about pool supplies and what
Mhm.
else?
Maintenance of the grounds.
We have to talk about it.
Sure.
It said, on the spreadsheet we got, it said, yes, fire suppression and.
Oh, yeah, the increases.
Yeah.
And snack bar or field house
We need
snack
those
stand.
code.
Right, to be compliant with the fire
Mhm.
inspector, we have to have a suppression system
Mhm.
in two buildings in the park.
Okay, so we don't
Snack
have
bar.
them right now.
We do, but they have to be updated.
Our insurance increases of like 2.8% across the
Right.
board.
Like I
Yes.
that's just based on
Mhm.
rate is up all over throughout the insurance agency industry. So 2.8 is
2.8 is a good rate, isn't it?
yeah, it's not based on our performance at all. It's just the statewide fund has gone up 2.8%,
Okay.
which I know. I mean, insurance companies are getting a lot more rate. It's a hard market. So,
Utility expenses look like they stayed relatively.
Yes.
Tell me what street lighting is.
The street lights, we have over 200 street lights, which we pay for. Yes. Yes, the electricity. The fire hydrants too, that's a separate line item. The street lights is separate. Yes, I think it's 263.
that's not a lot.
No, it isn't. Correct.
Which they will eventually, right?
Right.
And part of the fire hydrant also, I know we've negotiated, I know the fire companies negotiated and they filled our pool for free.
How did we do through the winter?
As far as the rock salt goes, we used about 800 tons more of rock salt. It costs us, I'd say 45,000 more. Okay, for the winter. Yes, I didn't bring it with me, but I have notes on that.
Overtime too?
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe they'll come out with a grant.
Well, that's what I was hoping.
You can hope.
Right. Never know with the state.
And the fire hydrants, and we talked to some hydrants,
Yes.
the 121,000, they charge that to every town, or is that based on how many hydrants you have?
It's based on how many fire hydrants you do have. Okay, and it's high in every budget. It's usually questioned,
Not just that
but
fire
that's what it
hydrants.
is. That's just to have the water available 24/7 in case of an emergency.
Is that the only charge we get? Like once they're used, do we get charged?
No, it's just a consistent 35,000 a quarter.
Well, that's the main purpose of the government is public safety.
That's it. Yes. Number one. Yes. That's why the increase, yeah, for the South 3rd Street. Right, right.
Let's see if there's are you done going through
Yeah, I
your
think
line
I am.
items?
You guys have other questions?
No, the most, Now, what about, I mean, with the police increases? I know we're putting in there as
Which police
anticipation
increases?
for the salary. But when will we actually know? what they've-
I don't know, it depends on negotiations.
We're accounting for one. So.
Yes,
Okay.
I put extra in there.
So no surprise.
I do. 2% I put in there. Mhm.
Oh, I have one more thing. I know computer services are always concerned, and I did look at some of the things, and one of our biggest expenses is the MSI software. We had talked about it, and I went over it with our computer consultant some time ago, and it's just, unfortunately, it's a cost.
It is.
Yeah, either paying for that software, or you're going to probably pay more for others. And have, I mean, it looks like there's no way around
It's
it.
very comprehensive. I mean, I have gone out for a bid on, gotten proposals from other vendors and found this one to be the most comprehensive, all tied together.
And there's no cost
And
savings.
it's a centralized thing as far as the cash receipts and the
Right.
web requisitions.
Yeah, it seems like it's all.
It helps when you have a limited staff to have that.
Right. Yeah. So there's really, I mean, they're all costly.
I have
And it's all
something.
state compliant.
Yeah. Mhm.
Since Victor isn't here, I'll speak in for him.
Okay.
On our garbage and trash removal, are we getting our best rate possible on that?
Yes,
I'm assuming best removal.
Beth
for
checks
the-
that every year. She does.
I was just gonna ask you about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that who does it now, Eleanor?
Oh, really? They hopefully.
They've been coming in with the lowest.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been coming in lower than
Our
Eleanor.
in-house.
Mhm. Yes.
But LMR came in low for a cleanup day, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The page we have here for the grants, it says, reserved for Homeland Security grants. Are there grants that we applied for these grants and we're waiting? for?
This is probably from the previous years. There were.
When a grant says reserved for, it means you received it in the previous year, and now it has to be legally appropriated in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are previous years.
The worksheet,
Yeah.
the titles.
Some items we only received in certain years, so there's zeros for the other.
Right, right.
Is there any opportunities for any grants that we have? Are we looking at grants or anything to gain some more revenue?
Yeah.
We always do. We always do.
We just can't account for them.
Right. We should be getting a safe and secure communities grant, which runs about 30,000. We usually get that every year, 23 to 30,000, which isn't, it's not in this budget, but we should be getting it later this year, so we can add it to the budget, and that helps pay for police salaries.
I'll leave you guys with this thought, literally, figuratively and literally. When you look at your revenues, you look at your revenue sheet, we bring in roughly $3.1 million, $3,104,271 in proposed revenues other than current taxes. That's in the package that you have. And there's a breakdown of where all that money comes from. The bulk of which, $948,000 in energy receipt taxes. Then it goes down dramatically from there. Fund balances, et cetera, down to the smallest item was like $12,000 from the sale of our SREX. I take that back. Interest on investments. So the other $4.1 million that we have to raise, you heard John and Dave allude to before, is the amount that's raised by the tax levy. And the fact of the matter is, you guys can dispute, all of us here, we can all have our different opinions on the merits of things like the asphalt plant or any of these other businesses, but the burden that you guys are going to face long after I'm gone is that until you find businesses take some of the pressure off the residential taxpayers, when you sit down and go through this budget, you'll find that there's no fluff in it. We're not hiding money anyplace. We're not overpaying people. We don't have extra employees. We don't have a bunch of part-time employees doing work. There's very little that you can cut. And you just heard, the fire company, the emergency squad, and the road department talk about the conditions of some of their vehicles. We put off last year buying some police cars to put them into this year's budget. Until you guys find businesses to take some of the pressure off the residents that live here, your taxes are just going to go up year after year after year. So I would encourage you, to do what we tried to do and be a little more aggressive in finding businesses. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to price residents out of this township. So you're not going to be able to afford to live here. There's only so much that you can cut out of this budget and continue to function until you start finding businesses to bear some of the burden. And I don't think this community has done well by trying to do that. And certain factions of this community have not done well by trying to do that. And it's to the detriment of the rest of the residents here, at least financially. So I would encourage this council to be aggressive in trying to attract and assist businesses in finding routes within the township to take some of that burden off everybody. You're not going to find a lot that you're going to be able to cut from these budgets in years going forward to make it affordable for everyone. It's just not going to happen. And you're going to have to, you can only get so many grants, and you can't go out and borrow in order to pay current debts. So you need to go find businesses. And that's the challenge I think that you guys are all going to face. And I hope you can find a way to do it.
The only other thing I'd like to say too is that with the formation of the EDAC, we're already being pretty aggressive, and also one of the things we are concerned here with the local tax. However, the school tax is a huge part of every taxpayer's bill. It's right now 55%. So the EDAC is actually trying to help them get rid of Delaware Park School to get that off the school budget, because they have to keep it with water, with heat, and just it's not a rateable for us. So those are the things that I think we also have to be aggressive with. Like, you have to get the businesses in here, and you have to look at everything, and we have to, maybe we need to head up to Belvedere, and we need to be at the county meetings too, advocating for lower county taxes as well, because again, that's more than our portion too.
You have demolition underway at the old Malakoff Baker, the old Bancorp complex. That should be starting. Hopefully they'll be making their application to the planning or zoning board in the next couple of months.
Self-construction fees.
The last I heard, there were now several people looking at Ingersoll Rand. In fact, Lori participated in a phone call with me earlier today, and they anticipate a contract hopefully any day. So maybe that will give you guys some added revenues.
And we're supposed to start.
I'm told now there's 4 or 5. What I was told, since we're reporter here, what I was told is that that's the last. There's no property left of that size in the Lehigh Valley Industrial Park. So it's the last big 100-acre tract. So the other people are looking. I don't know if that's good or bad. I just know that from what I was told, it went from 1 or 2 suitors to like 4 or 5 suitors.
Which is good for the seller.
So I don't know what. It's currently zoned for like a retail center. So anything short of a retail center was going to require them to go and ask for some sort of, if that's not what somebody brings in and proposes, it's going to require them to go to the board and ask for some sort of change. I couldn't tell you. I only know of the one company that was looking before, but I don't have no idea who Ingersoll Rand is at this point. Maybe in the mix, but no one told me. I couldn't get any information.
Based on the
they probably wouldn't tell me, so I'm glad that people.
Yeah, I mean, I know that real estate professionals, especially like I know we were talking about trying to get Wegmans in here, and they just don't feel we can support more retail at this point. So I don't know. It would be nice, but I don't know. Until that mall gets up and running, it'd be tough, but see what they have.
Anybody else from council have any specific line item or other questions? We'll open up the public and see if they have questions or comments.
Oh, I just want to get back to that fire inspector thing. And this is just in the future, probably not for this year.
Did I cut you off?
No, sweetly. I was talking. I was talking too low. I think that it's the person that goes out to the houses to make sure they have the smoke alarms and all that. Some towns just have the sellers of property fill out a form and send it to Trenton. Now, I don't know what those same towns do about commercial. So I believe they don't, and I'll have to look into it. They don't have someone on staff to do this. So, right. So they'll probably pay a fee to the state. I'll have to find out what the right, because everyone jumps.
What hours does he work?
He's built. Hey, 5 hours a week. 5 hours a week?
Right, yeah.
That's all.
I know, yeah, like the one thing I was talking about, construction fees, those are, because of the downturn in the economy, those have been way down too. That's another piece of revenue that you don't realize is coming in here, but that was, where's the revenue? That was, right. And now, what did we have? Construction code fees. Okay, that's not bad. Right. And of course, there's the interest on investments, which is horrible. I mean, in 2009, the interest on investments was $89,000. Last year, it was $3,400. That's pain being felt everywhere throughout the economy.
Any line item questions? I mean, unless, or whatever, unless there's not something on the
Lovely.
agenda. There are certainly months where there's not. So it's a set salary. Because it's more than just going to the meetings. And I'm not a planning board or zoning board secretary, but if there's an application, the planning board or looks, I'm more familiar with planning and zoning. So the planning board secretary has to put in the application. They provide, like, double check the property list, they double check the mail, the certified mailings, make sure they're all in order. They have to process the application, make sure it's all together, make sure it gets to the appropriate persons. Was that you or Phyllis? Phyllis does zoning. So then they obviously preside over the administrative part of the planning board. This, again, you have to understand the planning board members are all volunteers too, so they're not at their meetings, but they're not the meeting. So someone has to do the day-to-day administration as applications get processed, resolutions get processed, notices are sent to the appropriate party. There's a fair amount involved. Every cited chapter and verse.
The transcribing alone takes hours.
You're responsible for the minutes?
It's verbatim, yes. You still have to transcribe. Yeah. But they have to be transcribed as well. There needs to be a typed up document of that. Right.
The personnel themselves, though, are hired by the individual.
Yeah.
Planning board hires its secretary. Zoning hires its secretary. Right. No matter what, but my point is we don't hire them. We don't hire the
Council.
They pick their own person. It's part of our budget. I don't know that it's changed. It's changed since I've been here. Has it been changed since I've been here? I'm surprised.
Right. You think you're, I mean, probably definitely saving overpaying somebody by the hour.
We looked at the planning board.
28,000 a year.
Yeah, we looked at the planning board secretary at Hackettstown.
Yeah.
She's got 3 boards. She gets 66.
66 for 3 boards. Yeah. And I know that one zoning board meeting where he was going into very involved chemistry lessons for, that took
You don't
Phyllis
get-
what
You
weeks?
don't get paid by the meeting, you get a set salary. So for instance, when we went to the Highland, guys,
yes.
we were responsible for all the asphalt things. They were all part of it, no matter how many meetings you had.
Yeah, it
they
didn't
were all part of
matter.
the same, transcribing the minutes. Well, no one was saying you were. It's perfectly fine.
Really do drive a hard bargain here. I mean, when you look at it and when you look at how much they do, everybody does for free. And they all work
In
together
response to the
too.
free thing, I suppose one could argue that it's all part of the same salary.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think if I hear your argument, what you're saying is if we had somebody else do it, we'd be paying them
Mhm.
additionally for what
If you bring in somebody new.
Any questions?
Being aggressive, to promote business in this town. And we all know that the biggest challenge we have is we're so close to Pennsylvania. I mean, that they can afford incentives that we can't even come close to. So that's the biggest challenge for Lopat. So, being creative to promote, to bring business to this town. And how do we compete with Pennsylvania? So, and that's the hurdle that we have that we're facing. We're so close.
With the EDAC, I know we're going to have Jason Sarnowski, who's running the EDAC for Warren County. He's going to come help us. Megan Mike Dowd from Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, they're going to come, and they have some grants that can help us out. We got some other people that are, and everybody's very enthused to help. So, I mean, you just have to market the town because we do face heavy competition with Pennsylvania. They give things away by the bushel over there, and New Jersey doesn't do that.
They'll give years of
Mhm.
tax-free.
Don't even
I mean,
breathe.
we're not.
So you have to watch that
obviously can't do
too.
it here.
It's not happening.
Because there's a sheet in here that compares, and if you look at how much retail is in Greenwich, and their rate was higher than ours because of the abatements that they gave. So
For example,
yeah, and then those people will just leave when the abatements are over.
Just for example, out in Hamburg, where Cabela's is, right? That was the first retail that moved in. They gave them a 20-year tax break. But look what it drew in.
Oh yeah, there's so much there now.
Yeah, it just exploded there.
Mhm.
We can find
Try.
a spot, I'm telling you. We'll find it.
The only other question I had was on the South Street project. Now I know I'm sorry, South Third Street. I'm thinking of we have to put out money for that as well. And if I am correct, I think you told me that if we decide not to do that, it's actually held against us at the state. Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, guys, you can't start with not making infrastructure improvements. It's not for two reasons. One, it's not going to get better by next year. It's not going to be cheaper next year. You have to keep it in the budget. You gotta do the minimum. You're doing the minimum now. There are other significant road and other improvements that we should be undertaking, and I don't think until you have other revenue streams, you're not going to be in a position to do them. But you can't make some of those road improvement projects. Now, fortunately, we're getting some money to help defray the cost, but you have to keep those items in the budget in order to stay on top of roadways, among other things.
I was told too that if you apply for these grants and you get them and then you turn them down, then that's kind of held against you when you try to go for another one.
Questions, comments?
When we're talking about roads, is there any plans on Red School Lane or anything we've thought about or looked at or anything? I mean, it's getting there bad.
Another road that's on my radar.
Yeah, that's your main.
State road in the
State
county.
road.
And I'm gonna do my best this year.
Okay. Yeah. Reservoir Road too. If they're picking asphalt off, there's nothing underneath. Any other questions?
A couple questions on, for my own education, really. One similar to Brian's is for infrastructure budgeting. Is that under the capital CapEx class, or is that a property tax? Is it subject to a cap?
Capital improvements
Yeah.
fall within the cap.
So that's within the cap, all right. Yeah, I had the same question about pothole repair, if we're planning for that particularly bad year.
We have money in the Department of Public Works for general.
Yeah.
road
So-
repair.
And a related question was, year to year 12 to 2013, I know we cut drastically in capital improvements. My question was, how well did we hold the line? How did we do on saying we wouldn't spend more on such a thing? Did a good job there?
Yeah, we actually came in, I think 40,000 under, right? Did we? From 2013, right?
On capital improvements.
Well, capital improvements, we only, what did we budget? 10,000?
Grand, yeah.
Yeah. Did we spend that? Just about.
We held the line there, that's good.
Yeah, Betty says no
I'll see
to
that
everything.
necessarily as a positive.
If I may, what's important there is that they didn't incur any new debt. So while they cut capital, they didn't go out and borrow the money and continue to spend. So when they say they cut capital, they really cut capital.
My other question is also educational. I don't understand exactly what you were talking about. There's apparently a budget line for police O&E related to a police car, and I didn't understand the whole discussion.
Oh, about having the police cars as opposed to a SUV.
SUVs are considered a specialty vehicles that we purchase outside the cap, as opposed to within the cap. It frees up money. If we were tight on the cap, or wanted to try to move it outside of the cap, you can do that, but it's not. You don't have to. If we stayed within the cap, I was just honestly, I was angling for an advantage somewhere, like if we could pull it out of the cap. The problem is whether it's in or out of the cap, it's still part of the overall budget. You still need to raise the money to pay for it, so it doesn't really matter where it comes from. Kind of matters where you put it to the extent you might want to. You want to define. Let's assume, for argument's sake, there was something else we needed to do budget-wise, and it's another $10,000. But what's a car? 70? 2 cars?
No, two together.
So let's say we needed $70,000. We were outside the cap by 70 grand, for instance. So we wanted to find $70,000 to buy another dump truck or do something. We could have that money could have been moved. We could have moved it out of the cap, put it, take it from in the cap, move it out of the cap, and freed up $70,000 more within the cap to add something else in that we didn't presently have in the budget. But to do that, we would have added almost another penny to the tax.
I understood that part. I was referring to a reference you made when you were going over the police expenditures.
Yeah.
You said this amount in O&E, that's for a police car.
It includes a police car.
Includes
It also
the car.
includes
Yeah, it
other
includes a lot of other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like ammunition, office supplies.
Specifically for
Yes.
new police car.
So actually 2. We took them out of the budget last year. But she was employing us not to get out of the budget.
Just want to get my own education. How many cars do we have? And how do we deploy them?
We have 2 SUVs and I want to say 4 cars. The problem is 2 of them are extremely old and in constant need of. We're at the point where the cost of repairs begin to exceed the cost of buying it.
So those are the 2 targeted. Thanks.
Yeah, we held them off last year. So we know.
Other questions tonight? Anybody? Carlos? Sir? Good. Kathy? Anything else? So 8:30. Gotta get 8:15. We are going to go into executive session, but there will not be any action taken or done. So I'll hold. What are you talking about? Personnel thing?
Personnel, yeah.
Personnel, and a potential contract, but we're not going to be voting on anything. So you're welcome to stick around, but we'll probably be done in 15 minutes and then we'll be out of here ourselves. Motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll take a 5-minute break. Everybody can